We interrupt this Jayhawk ranking shitpost to bring you an exclusive sneak peek of Populist Chris's newest short story, The Adventures of Gregor and Pack Leader. A cold wind howled across the open valley like some unseen predator. The biting wind tore into Gregor's flesh, making the young trapper numb and stiff as a statue. Several snowflakes blew into his eyes, blocking his view of his target. Gregor cursed as he shed an involuntary tear that quickly froze on his very face. As his stomach growled, Gregor aimed his musket at the largest, yet furthest off of the elk. As he aimed, a cloth-wrapped hand grabbed the barrel of the gun and lowered it. "Don't go for the largest of the targets. Go for the easiest," Pack Leader admonished him. "Remember, we absolutely need to eat this night." "If I go for the bigger one, we won't have to worry about eating anymore, Pack," Gregor replied, desperation in his eyes. "And what if you miss, Pack asked. "If you miss, you'll scare off the entire herd, and then not only will we not be able to eat, but nobody back in the village. Besides, nobody could make that shot." It was then that the blizzard broke and Hughie Long arrived. He approached the bull elk man to man, his sheer presence of badassery and all-around awesomeness causing the bull elk to freeze in place in sheer respect for the kingfish. Senator Long laughed at the sheer pathetic nature of this beta bull elk. Deciding to show it what a real man is made of, he revealed his massive dick and used it to smack the bull elk to death. Everyone in the vicinity cheered for their savior, Senator Hughie Long of Louisiana. All of the most attractive women in the land came then to bask in Hughie's manliness and previously mentioned all-around badassery and awesomeness. But then, just as all was going well for Hughie, he smelled a foul, disgusting smell. The smell of a filthy, no-good Cindy. It was Jack Reed, Hughie Long's greatest enemy. He stank of hipster coffee and virginity. Everyone in the crowd hissed and booed this skinny little bastard as he came in to ruin Hughie's fun once again.
Hughie,"
he said with evil and disgustingness.
"Your economic policies don't go far enough, man. You gotta give the workers a co-op and stuff, because you can't just give the workers money. I read it in a book."
He said again, with evil and foolishness. Hughie looked upon the fool with remorse and pity. How could a man grow up to be such a repulsive little creature? Nonetheless, Hughie had an important question to ponder in his second-to-none brain. Should he debate the fool on his values, or simply blow him to smithereens with his Hughie heat vision? Turns out it was a relatively easy decision, because he chose the latter. After disposing once and for all of his eternal enemy, Hughie, the ladies, Gregor, Pack Leader, and the unexplained crowd of onlookers had a massive party that lasted for hours on end. The ladies, of course, were drawn to Hughie's natural charisma, and they partied together until the dawn. End of Chapter 1. Well, Cindy, what do you think so far? What do I think so far? Wow,
I think you have a weird thing for British brunettes, which I guess means I have a weird thing for British brunettes. And also, Pop, literally all of your stories end the exact same way. No matter what's happening, Hughie Long shows up and kills something with his massive dick. When you were writing Harry Potter fanfiction, Hughie Long showed up and killed Voldemort with his massive dick. When you were writing a D&D campaign, Hughie Long again showed up, and this time he killed a Tarrasque with his massive dick. You're starting to notice a pattern? You're using the same joke over and over again, and it's getting really, really exhausting to listen to over and over again.
Is a man not entitled to his own taste in the fairer sex? Besides, I know that my short stories are getting a little more repetitive, but can you really blame me? We've been stuck in this room for months on end now. I can't take it much more. I gotta get back to Wichita.
I know how you feel. His room back at home, it's way too small. There's too much clutter. He's got too much junk in here. I know that he's in the process of moving out, but I mean, come on. He can at least be a little more organized. And also, I really don't like the way his cat is always looking at me.
I would have eaten Wu if I had gotten the chance.
Simon Bolivar Justice. Way too soon to be making that joke. Rest in peace, Comrade Wu.
And the fact that Chris is never, ever here. He's always either out at work doing dishes or down in the basement playing video games. I've never been that much of a needy person, but considering the fact that I'm part of his personality and he's almost never around, I don't know if I'm about to Thanos snap out of existence. See, I've had so much time cooped up in here that I've already caught up with this timeline's pop culture. It's getting kind of ridiculous. What the hell? Where the Sam hell are we? What's going on?
I don't know, Pop. It looks familiar, but different. The beige walls, the plain furniture. I don't know where we are. I don't know, man.
Oh no, there's so many things that I wanted to do. I don't want to die.
I never actually got around to reading Theory.
I don't recognize
this
place. What if we piss off a witch doctor, Cindy?
Hey, you guys.
Mom always said we piss off a witch doctor or something. Oh my God, I don't want to die, Cindy. I don't want to die either, Papa.
Good. Alright, so now that we're good and calm, welcome to our new digs. It's at Wichita State just like last year. We have a roommate this year, so I can't talk to you fellas as much. Yeah. As for what you guys are doing here and how you got here so quickly, Wu teleported you, which, I kind of wish he would have been able to do for me. I ended up having to drive down here, but, you know, you can only ask so much of a beta fish with inexplicable powers.
Comrade Wu teleported us here? But he died like a month ago. He fell out of his container. It was really bad. He's gone. How could he have teleported us here?
Comrade Cindy, do you really think that low of me? I have existed since before Marx, and I shall exist long after him. Fear not. A simple fall cannot kill me, and teleporting you all the way from Prairie Village to Wichita State is merely a fraction of my power. But regardless, it is time for you both to get your rest. You have a great duel to partake in tomorrow, as well as Southern revisionists to BTFO.
Wu is absolutely right, my friends. We must get a good night's sleep so we can prepare for our encounter with MAGA Chris and Tanky Chris. Now, MAGA Chris just said a bunch of extremely anti-Semitic things and posted a bunch of 5-year-old Pepe memes, so that was about it from him. But as for Tanky Chris, he spoke something about using my nostalgia against me, followed by a very measured but still quite maniacal Russian evil laugh. So, we probably should get some rest because I think he's got something up his sleeve for tomorrow.
Don't really like where this is going, but we're gonna have to deal with this eventually. So good night, I guess.
Comrade Cortana, show me Chris's most treasured and precious memories.
Maybe. That's all the time we have for Chris or Dictator. Join us next week when Chris is given complete control of a small Central American country. Just so we can laugh at the hilarity that will surely ensue. We'll see you then.
Hey, it's Chris here. I like football. We're eating this pizza. God bless America.
I just want to thank a lot of these people know who they are for helping me out through a really rough time last year, getting me through this, and more specifically, I want to thank Adam, because one of the things that I like to do is I like to rant to him, because on one hand, his reactions are hilarious, and on the other hand, it's a good way to get the let out. By the way, buddy, if you ever miss me at college, I'm going to record about 10 hours of various rants. And if you ever feel alone, I want you to put earbuds in and listen to those. And just remember that somebody is just a little bit weirder than you. I'll send you more. Yes. Very good. I can use many of these to my advantage. Chris has not felt truly at home for quite some time, and the memories that he does have are tainted. This can be used to my advantage. Comrade MAGA Chris. So good of you to finally show up.
Thanks, Vladimir. I don't recognize any of these memories. You said that these are Chris's most trusted memories, but I've never seen these. So I can only assume that the deep state programmed this into his head or something. Is that what we're looking at? Oh boy, I know exactly how to go up against the deep state. All we need is a crap ton of very out-of-date memes.
Yet, that's not what yes. That is exactly what we are doing, Comrade Mega Chris. You needn't worry about these memories or the music that is playing. It was before your time. All I need you to do is be yourself, because very soon, Chris is going to continue his debunk of the Sons of Confederate veterans. And even though you are from Chicago, you get very, very defensive whenever the Civil War is brought up. So, just be yourself.
So Chris is going to debunk the lost cause, is he? Well, my family may not have even shown up in the Americas yet, and we may have spent our entire lives in the northern region, but god damn it, if he is going to try and decry a bunch of white people who were only fighting to maintain their traditions, doesn't matter what their traditions are, we must always follow tradition, I am going to stand in opposition to this. I didn't know you were this red-pilled, Tanky Chris.
Oh, if only Comrade Stalin was this good at manipulating the fascists, we would have easily won the Great Patriotic War. Yes, this fool will make an excellent stooge. What can I say? Red is my favorite color.
Okay, we're doing evil laughs now. And a little more
Hey, Chris,
What the hell is that?
The fuck? I'll come back later.
Alright, we all set, guys? I guess. How long do we have to wait? Do we know when Tanky Chris is gonna show up, or...
Don't worry. Knowing him, you'll know when he's about to show up.
Oh, case in point, that. Yep, he should be here any second now. Any second now. Is, he actually gonna show up,
Guess who, Kulaks?
Silver shirts! I am no silver shirt populist, Chris, but I suppose that you could say that you are a yellow leg now, da? Oh, that actually felt some on me. Oh, that's gross.
God damn it, Tanky Chris. Last video you sick a T-Rex on him, and in this one you make him piss his pants? What you're doing sure ain't okie dokie.
I need to clean myself up after this. Yes, well, syndicalist Chris. I, as a vanguard fighter, care little for your bourgeois definition of okie dokie.
Okay, well, how does being an outright asshole like you assist in the revolution?
I don't know. Read State and Revolution or something. I'm sure Lenin says something about sending a pack of velociraptors after Markov's family, or scaring Crown Prince Alexei into crying and then pissing his pants before he had him shot.
Oh, I've heard of that one. Isn't that the book where Lenin argues that cereal is a soup?
Yes, and anyone who disagrees is a pig-ignorant, half-witted, fatuous moron. We, got any more surprise visitors, fellas?
I'm here too!
Oh, great. Who invited this fundamentalist LARPing copperhead?
Fundamentalist LARPing what now? Copperhead, MAGA Chris. It's, what you are. A northerner who goes out of his way to make excuses for the South. Alright now, hold on a second. I take great personal pride in my heritage.
Heritage, my star-spangled ass. Your family came here in the 1880s and has never once crossed the Mason-Dixon line. Yes, well, despite his idiotic reasons, he's the only personality in your head that is willing to defend the lost cause narrative. So for that reason, he is here. And why exactly are you here, Mr. Tankovich? Oh, wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, he does that sometimes. Just can we cut away from him? We should probably get started on the video, right?
Yeah, one sec. Okay, let's commence with the debunk, shall we, gentlemen?
Welcome to RT.com.
Ah, look, comrades. Russia Today, President Putin's state propaganda network, appears to be platforming Southern revisionists. This certainly isn't likely an attempt by the Kremlin to divide America further. Yeah, you may be onto something, Tanky Chris. Wait, Tanky Chris said that?
Yeah, he did. He said something that although likely partially exaggerated, isn't entirely incorrect. What are you playing at, Tanky Chris? I've never heard you criticize Russia before. Please, what do I look like? Caleb Muppin? Just because I am a Leninist doesn't mean that I will not criticize the Russian Federation. The Soviet Union was entirely perfect, but the Russian Federation is little more than a bourgeois society ruled by greedy industrialists and oligarchs. Of course I'm going to criticize them. They stabbed our union in the back. Just as the Confederates did. Alright, again, you're not incorrect. I'd say the Soviet Union did deserve to fall, though. I'm keeping my eye on you. This smells fishy to me, Vladimir.
I'm Chris Sweeney, and today I'm joined by Walter D. Kennedy, who is the Chief of Heritage Operations for the Sons of Confederate Veterans out in Amerika. But we can call him Donnie. He's Donnie to his friends, so welcome, Donnie. How you doing?
I am doing quite well.
Hey, Donnie. How's it going? Listen, I wanted to issue an apology for how I referred to you in the last video. I should not have made fun of your appearance. I do not apologize for calling you a racist evil twin of my grandfather, though. Because, you know, you were doing the whole Southern heritage has been under attack for 50 years by the triple parentheses neo-Marxists. So I'm not apologizing for that. But I've been doing some research on you. Apparently you wrote a book. I may do a review of that someday. And I also found out that you went to ULM. So as a peace offering, here's a quick Go Warhawks. So what do you got for us today?
And as you said, I'm a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Right above my head here is hanging a plaque in honor of my great-grandfather, who was a Confederate soldier.
Ooh, that is cool. You know, my great-grandpappy ran away when they tried to conscript him. He ended up in the foothills of Tennessee, and he joined a pro-Union band of guerrillas that would link up with colonies of marooned slaves and fight against the Confederacy. So that was pretty cool. He ended up getting rewarded for his loyalty by getting lynched by the KKK after the war. So that's nice. But wow, your great-granddaddy fought and lost a war, and you got a plaque for it. Gotta love those intergenerational participation trophies.
We are the Sons of Confederate Veterans is a genealogical organization. As you said, we have to have roots in the Confederacy, in the military or the political establishment of the Confederate States of America. Now, I'll use the term Civil War in quotation because we do not consider that war a civil war. We refer to it as the War for Southern Independence.
Civil War, noun, a war between factions or regions of the same country, i.e. a war between North and South over, you know, the continuation of slavery, as well as the authority of the federal government over the southern states. Now, there is a difference between a war of independence and a civil war. Typically, a war of independence is being fought by a people who were previously occupied or colonized. See, for example, Angola, Indochina, Algeria, the United States even. Those would count as wars of independence, that being different people groups who are being ruled by foreigners fighting for their independence. Now, this is where Donnie's definition falls flat, because the South wasn't being ruled by foreigners. They are not a separate people group, though I love how he kind of just outed his belief that Southerners are not Americans, so that's interesting. I've watched the video. He'll go back on this claim, but he commits Freudian slips several times. So that's the difference between a war of independence and a civil war. And yes, there are instances in history where, like, different regions have, like, broken away to form their own countries. A good example would be what happened between China and Taiwan, both Koreas, and the Nigerian Civil War. Those being when a certain region of the country was dissatisfied with a certain government and established their own and tried to break away. So that's the difference between the two. No, your definition does not work.
As you may know, there were two wars of independence, 1776 between the 13 original colonies in Great Britain, the mother country, and in 1861 between 13 southern states, which...
That is incorrect. There were 11 legitimate Confederate states, as in 11 Confederate states that actually passed their secession articles. The Confederacy claimed Missouri and Kentucky. Kentucky wanted to remain neutral, but the Confederates, being the Confederates, they of course invaded the state and tried to overthrow the local government and forced them to be part of the Confederacy. Similar thing happened in Missouri. Only real difference is they had a decent amount of support in the legislature. So what happened is the Confederates established their own puppet governments in these states to try and occupy them and claim them as their own. Even though, these are border states, they have more connections with the North. Even if they do have slavery, they still wanted to remain a part of the Union. Now, let me preempt a very common talking point that the North also had slaves and that the Emancipation Proclamation only freed slaves in the rebelling states. I want you to take a look at a map, and I want you to locate all of the border states. So you got Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri. Now, let's say that the Emancipation Proclamation freed all of the slaves, just nationwide. That includes Delaware, Maryland, Kentucky, and Missouri. What do you think happens then? If Missouri rises up, they have access to the Great Lakes all of a sudden. They can push right into Illinois and possibly even take Chicago. If Kentucky rises up, they can move into the Midwest and cut the Union in two. And if Maryland rises up, look at that. Washington, D.C. is surrounded. Freeing the slaves in the rebel states was a tactical decision. And regardless, the slaves were then freed after the Civil War. So, no. Too long, don't read. There weren't 13 Confederate states. There were 11 states that seceded and 2 illegitimate puppet governments that were used as an excuse to violate the sovereignty of Missouri and Kentucky. He later accuses Yankees of being imperialists, which is funny considering what we just went over, and we have so much more evidence to the contrary. So yeah, we'll get into that later.
Formed the Confederate States of America and the United States of America. The United States of America invaded, conquest, and has occupied the Confederate States of America since that.
Ah yes, the conquest of the Confederacy. A region that was part of the United States until it rose in armed rebellion. Yeah, that's definitely a conquest, not a civil war, not a reunification campaign. No, nothing like that. Just, definitely a conquest. And the occupation is still going on, according to this man, which means to him that the Confederate States of America still exists, which is just wild to me. It's like someone thinking that the Roman Empire is still a thing. Actually, no, the Roman Empire lasted for hundreds of years longer than the Confederacy, contributed more to civilization than the Confederacy, and could actually win wars, But yeah, the occupation of the South. Let's take a look at how southern states are treated in comparison to northern states. Are they ruled by military tribunals? Do soldiers freely roam the streets and abuse citizens? Oh, no! Look at that! They have their own legislatures, their own governors, they have their own representation in Congress based off of their population, they all have 2 senators just like every other state, and they are all part of the United States, and their citizens are able to vote in elections. What a brutal and dastardly military occupation. Not since the days of Nazi-ruled Poland have I seen such brutality, I say, good sir. You mentioned the Roman Empire. Makes me wonder if Donnie is a strong proponent for the independence of the Gallic and Palmyrene empires. After all, they were regions that revolted against the central government and were then brutally conquered by the central government. Again, it's not like that was already the Roman Empire's territory or anything. No. It's not like it was ambitious regional governors rising up because they didn't like the central government. No, it was a brutal conquest. We need statues of Gallic Empire leaders and statues of those brave Palmyrenian freedom fighters. Aurelian was a brutal dictator on par with Abraham Lincoln.
The Confederate flag, for example, which is, you know, part of it's on your website, you know, for a lot of people that's seen as a toxic symbol of racism and slavery.
Yeah,
and
I'm showing you, I'm trying to show you my button with the Confederate flag on it.
I see it.
That's my membership button.
Now, I talked before in that old debate about why the Confederate flag that we see today isn't actually the Confederate flag and was actually created as a giant FU to the civil rights movement. Literally anytime some movement for change starts up, the South gets a little uppity for some reason. I don't know why, some reason. But I will give the SOCV a little bit of credit for historical accuracy. The flag that they are using, while it's not the official National Confederate flag, what they are using appears to be the Army of Northern Virginia's banner, which was the, I guess you could say, the elite of the Confederate Army. It was Lee's outfit. So, you know, it makes sense. I mean, they're a fraternal order of genealogical descendants of Confederate soldiers, so a little bit of credit to them for that. Just the slightest little bit that I'm going to give them today.
And yes, the Confederate flag has been slandered with that name, but you know, who was saying that but the guys that defeated us? It's obvious they don't want our side of the story told, because that would embarrass the hell out of those Yankees.
Oh, goody. Now we're getting into the history is written by the victors nonsense. Oh, Hans! Alpasan! Oh, no way! I love this song! Ugh. First of all, ew. Second of all, who's gonna tell him? This is his favorite song, really? Cindy, populist Chris. Somebody has to tell him, right? No, Vladimir. It's like Sun Tzu always said. If your enemy insists on picking his nose on camera and enjoying a song that is fundamentally mocking his political movement and making him look like an idiot, let him. Hans, Alpasan, get in here!
Oh, I'm terribly sorry about that, Chris. I was just explaining to Hans why when Ataturk said peace at home, peace in the world, he was totally referring to creating a tyrannist empire, uniting all people who speak any form of Turkish. After all, even a vaguely connected language is totally enough to build a new nation, yes?
Exactly, which is why the English and the Germans have always gotten along swimmingly, because we both speak a Germanic language, yeah? There has never been a war between either of our countries.
Man, I was getting bored earlier, but now Hans and Alpasan are here? Oh, this is just fantastic! It's like a family reunion for me. I'm so happy to see you fellas again.
I'm happy to see you too, Enrique. It has been far too long since we last spoke. However, I must ask Chris, why did you summon Hans and I?
Oh yes, that. Our friend Donnie, you guys know Donnie, is making the history is written by the victors argument. And since he's done it once, I'm pretty sure he's gonna do it again. So I'm just gonna need you guys to jump in and back up his point whenever he makes it. So yeah, you think you can do that?
Oh, Chris, can we do that? Is the Russian fighting man naturally inferior to the German Volk?
What did you just say, Fritz?
Hold on a second, Vladimir.
History says otherwise, but I get your point. All right, enough of this diversion. Back into the bullshit.
If people around the world understood that they invaded and conquered our people out of a profit motive, and the Yankee Empire has been going around the world for a profit motive ever since then, it just happens that our Confederate States of America was the first victim. So,
wow. Did he really just claim that the Confederate States of America, the home of some of the richest business owners in the country, you know, the largest plantations, that they were the victims of imperialism? The first victims of American imperialism, in fact. Oh my God. Holy shit. Do you guys hear that? It's the sound of millions upon millions of Native Americans spinning in their graves. It's causing an earthquake. Holy shit. He did. That is what's happening. Oh my God. That statement was so goddamn stupid. He doesn't even know about. Oh no. I can hear them. They're speaking to us. Jesus, Joseph. This is not good, fellas. This ain't good at all. Oh my goodness. Oh, this ain't gonna end well. All right, don't worry, fellas. Maybe he'll walk back that statement. He can't possibly think that the Confederacy was at all a legitimate nation, or even that, like, it compares to, like, what happened to the Native Americans.
No, the flag is not a symbol of racism. Now, some people will use it as that, but you know, they'll use the British flag for the same reason. I've seen people use the Scottish flag for racist reasons. So just because a small group of people misuse an icon doesn't mean that you have to destroy that icon. You condemn the misuse of that icon or that emblem. You don't condemn the emblem.
Okay. Thank Christ. He moved on to another point. Holy shit. Confederacy being the victim of imperialism, or even the first victim of imperialism, doesn't even know the goddamn horrors that were implemented on the indigenous population, largely at the demands of the southern states in order to expand slavery, but we'll get into that later. Yes, well, there's the thing, Donnie. As I explained in my previous video, the Confederacy is entirely rooted in racism. You know, there's the Cornerstone speech, there's the fact that slavery was enshrined into the Confederate Constitution, there's even the actions of Confederate soldiers during the war that tells me that the predominant culture in the South, the culture that you're honoring, was one of racism, treason, and frankly, laziness. I mean, why do you think they needed chattel slavery? It's because they didn't want to pay workers to do it, and they didn't want to do it themselves, so yeah. I mean, it's not that people are wrongfully associating negative aspects to that flag. No, it's actually the exact opposite. It's that you are trying to assert positive aspects to something that is so universally disgusting that people are calling you out for it. Yes, people do use the American flag for racist reasons. We see Trump supporters doing it all the time. But the thing is, the United States of America has adapted. It is a symbol of change in many contexts. It's a symbol of progression, of resisting tyranny, of revolution even, in many contexts. But the Confederate flag has been so, you know, it's been used by so many groups to, like, keep down African Americans. Like, again, that adaptation of the flag that you see all the time is, you know, the version that came out during the Civil Rights Movement. So what I really don't get is why you aren't just willing to let this symbol go. Like, in terms of the Confederacy actually existing, it was only around for 4 years. And after the war, it was used by racist groups to target African Americans and those who wanted to help them. So I really don't understand why you're so desperately attached to that symbol. And it makes me question your patriotism. You're referring to Southerners as their own separate people, calling yourselves victims of American imperialism. Now, if I were to hear a Native American person say that, I would completely get where they're coming from. But coming from you, it just sounds like a victim complex, and that you don't really like the United States all that much, and you wouldn't really be against the idea of seceding. So that's why I'm getting several red flags from you. Ultimately, the American spirit, the idea of America, is one of change, adaptation, and revolution. And The reason why we don't lack you honoring the Confederacy is because when we elected President Lincoln and tried to change the country, the first thing you folks did was betray the country and throw a 4-year hissy fit that very nearly destroyed the nation. You were defeated fair and square. You frankly deserved to lose. And you're still holding on to a storybook version of history that's used by the Southern elites in order to keep you separated from the rest of the country, angry at African Americans, and frankly, just allow you to be shock troops for the elite. This wasn't a rebellion of lower-class folks. This was lower-class folks being used as cannon fodder by the rich people. And then the lower-class folks worshipping those rich people for sending them off to die. It's a very strange culture in the American South in this timeline. It's very weird indeed. I guess Kaiser Wilhelm not resuming unrestricted submarine warfare really was a decisive point in history. Well, enough about the philosophy of different timelines. Let's get back into this.
Confederate general, for many years ago, Nathan Bedford Forrest, and his remains and his wife are being moved from, where they are currently in Memphis to somewhere else in Tennessee.
Oh, that's cool. Maybe this is a good sign. In my timeline, when the American Union state under President Hughie Long wins the Second American Civil War, one of the first things we do is purge the silver shirts and the KKK. So I assume that by exhuming Forrest's remains in Memphis and moving them somewhere else in Tennessee, he's referring to moving them to a septic tank in a back alley behind a Nashville strip club. Because that's where we put him in our timeline. It's also a public use bathroom. It's very nice.
And I know that's been funded by your organization, but he was also the Grand Wizard of the KKK and a slave trader. So people would say, how do you align that with not supporting or not endorsing racism?
That is an excellent question, even more Scottish Chris. Greetings from the diaspora. Let's check and see how Donnie worms his way out of this one, shall we?
Okay, first of all, he was not the, quote, Grand Wizard. He was a member of the original Klan, but...
Play the doom music. Saint Sherman, hear my prayer. Grant us protection with your holy cleansing flames, for the night is dark and full of traitors.
The original Klan has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the Klan of the 20th century and the 21st century.
You remember when ISIS first rose up as a splinter cell of Al-Qaeda, and Al-Qaeda claimed they had nothing to do with them? This has given me serious flashbacks to that.
The organization he was part of was a guerrilla movement to get rid of Yankees, carpetbaggers, and scallywags.
No, the KKK were not guerrillas, they were terrorists. There's a difference. Now, if the KKK exclusively resorted to taking pot shots at occupying Union troops, I'd still consider them sons of bitches, but that would be genuine guerrilla warfare, that being hit-and-run attacks against military targets. But that's not what they did, Donnie. That is not what they did. They lynched people, committed acts of vigilante justice targeting freedmen and Northerners who were down there to help rebuild the South. How dare they help you rebuild your homes? Southern hospitality. And also, in 1868, they carried out what can only be described as a mass terror campaign where they killed 1,600 black voters to try and scare black folks out of voting. That was one of their main focus, trying to keep black folks from voting. And, yeah, they started several race riots, too. I don't think they even once engaged the Union Army. That's not, Jesus Christ. Even the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, mix in attacks on military targets with civilian targets. The KKK, they just scared civilians. They were utter pansies. They targeted unarmed people. They were absolute cowards and terrorists and traitors, and fuck you for trying to call them guerrilla fighters. trying to consider them a legitimate form of soldier because they weren't. They were terrorists.
Let me tell you the main difference between your people and my people, Donnie. When my people engage in guerrilla warfare, the last thing you see will be our face. We didn't wear masks. We did not pretend to be ghosts or give ourselves stupid names like Grand Wizard or Imperial Dragon or Cyclops with a massive dick, which I wouldn't be surprised if that was a rank in the KKK. Your Ku Klux Klan, the first iteration, was just like the others, a bunch of pathetic losers who just wanted to lash out at unarmed and vulnerable people. The fact that you are trying to lump them in with legitimate guerrilla warriors, such as the Soviet partisans, is very insulting to me. Makes you wish that your people had a more Soviet spirit, doesn't it, Chris?
Yeah, I guess it kinda does. Wait, what?
Who came down south to continue plundering the South after we were defeated. It was really a guerrilla warfare effort. And there were the original group. We had Jewish people, we had Catholics, Protestants. There were even black supporters of the group who had been black Confederate veterans.
Ah, yes, the Black Confederates, who were only allowed to start serving in March of 1865. And the war ended a month later. The KKK, known for being accepting of black folks. And yes, he is correct that there were Jewish and Catholic Confederates, which stands to reason there were probably Jewish and Catholic members of the KKK. Doesn't make them the good guys. They committed several massacres, like the one in Opelousas. Their successors, the White League, actually had this thing where they would stage coups in local towns and kill all of the Reconstruction administrators. Didn't matter if they were white or black, from the South or not. You know, they're just fucking barbarians. Those are your heroes. That's who you base your culture around. Tells us a lot about who you people are.
So, has nothing to do with what you recognize today as the Klan, but we condemn, and we condemn strongly, the KKK today and all racist activity.
Funny. You condemn racism, but you're supporting Nathan Bedford Forrest, who laid the groundwork for the KKK, which even if it was this totally noble guerrilla force, it still laid the foundation for the modern KKK. So, fuck you for honoring him for that. But also, there's the Fort Pillow massacre that his unit committed. And I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, oh, the meanie-weenie Yankees are whining about it. Anything bad about the South is a lie by the Yankees. Meh. Yeah, Americans, absolute sons of bitches, aren't they, Donnie? But anyway, if the Yankees are lying, then how come there's this document from one of Nathan Bedford Forrest's own soldiers in a letter home to his family? I'm gonna read it to you. It's from Sergeant Achilles V. Clark, writing to his sisters on April 14th. Our men were so exasperated by the Yankees, Americans, threats of no quarter that they gave but little. The slaughter was awful. Words cannot describe the scene. The poor deluded Negroes would run up to our men, fall on their knees with uplifted hands, and scream for mercy. But they were ordered to their feet and then shot down. The white men fared but little better. The fort turned out to be a great slaughter pen. Blood, human blood, stood about in pools, and brains could have been gathered up in any quantity. I, with several others, tried to stop the butchery, and at one time had partially succeeded, but General Forrest ordered them shot like dogs, and the carnage continued. Finally, our men became sick of blood, and the firing ceased. Nathan Bedford Forrest was a subhuman, barbaric monster. He does belong buried in a septic tank. Fuck you for trying to honor him.
Yes, Chris. Very good. Remember who these people are. You were always right about them. Go all the way back to the old days. Back when you had something that you could truly latch on to. A system that could allow you to reclaim your country from this rabble of class traitors and racists. Embrace what you used to be. Become yourself. What is it, comrades? Why have we become so quiet all of a sudden? Okay, seriously, Vladimir, what the fuck are you doing? I am doing nothing. I am merely assisting you in debunking the lost cause narrative. How you say, down with traitors, up with star.
No. You're deliberately trying to get Chris worked up and pissed off, and I don't know why, but it can't be good, so be honest with us. What are you doing?
What are you talking about? Chris isn't worked up at all. He's totally calm.
That is absolute horsepucky, and you know it. Just look at him. He's repeating all those dumbass, cringy, vaguely genocidal revenge fantasies he had about the Civil War back when you were in charge. Democratic decimation is the way to go. Split them into groups of 10, every single Confederate veteran, force them to vote on which one of them dies, make them execute the man, and then ban them from ever voting or owning a gun again. Yes, that's what we do. That's what we should have done. Gerrymander the living fuck out of them so they never get into power again. Reeks of 14-year-old high school student cringe. Like, he's even got Ushanka on, Vladimir. He's still going. Are you honestly telling me that you aren't deliberately pissing him off? It's like he's going back into tanky remission. Look, another stupid take.
No connection whatsoever with that. Now, as far as being a slave trader, people who have talked about Nathan Betcher Forrest being a slave trader, they never seem to come to grips with the fact that the greatest slave traders were the Yankees, especially in New England, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and even in New York. They were the great slave traders, not the Southerners. And
wait, what did he say? Chris, you okay, buddy? Hey, real quick, tell me, who's president of the United States? Barack Obama, right? Oh, shit. Pop, he was under so much stress that he appears to have gone back to at least 2016, maybe further. Yeah, but how far back? Hold on, let me try something. Hey, Chris, who's the most, recent World Series champion? San Francisco. They just beat the Royals 4-3. I'm really pissed off about it. I'm pissed off about a lot of stuff. Hey, you guys think I should try theater? Ooh, yeah, late 2014, early 2015. Definitely before the, October 29th revolution, though. Do we keep going, or? October 29th revolution? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, you, weren't around yet. I mean, I had just gotten into his head myself. Bit of a long story. Maybe we'll cover it later. Consider this foreshadowing, I guess, Cindy. Let's just move on. And just keep your eye on Vladimir, alright? Way ahead of you.
For some reason, it's somewhat kind of hypocritical to condemn one person, but not condemn a whole society of slave traders.
No shit. You're telling me that wealthy northern capitalists got involved in the slave trade, even though the vast majority of northerners didn't think that slavery was morally justified? Yeah, I'm sure northerners absolutely don't condemn those people at all, you know, just... And I mean, we shouldn't for a moment ask who they were selling those slaves to. I mean, it takes a, seller and a buyer for an economy to exist, so, Who, pray tell, were they selling those slaves to, Donnie? Who exactly? And, who ended up putting a stop to the slave trade altogether? Well, was it you guys? Was it you guys? Oh, no, it wasn't, was it? Was it, fellas? Okay, seems like he's back, but that, damn Ushanka is still on his head.
A division, or do you see yourself as all part of one nation?
We are all Americans. Because remember, Confederate States of America. So we're all Americans. There's no doubt about that. And as long as I'm part of these United States, there is no question my national loyalty is with the United States.
Sure you are. Those damn Yankee imperialists are occupying the Confederate States of America. But, of course, you're still loyal to the United States of America. I see absolutely no contradiction in being loyal to the United States of America, yet also constantly bitching and complaining about a movement of secessionists who divided the country 160 years ago. Yeah, just absolutely no contradiction. I'm absolutely sure that people like you are 100% loyal to America. After all, it is the American flag that covers your house from top to bottom. You know, it's not like you view the United States to be an oppressive empire or anything. It's not like that is a very common talking point among Neo-Confederates such as the League of the South, who, you know, literally calls the United States the empire. Yeah, just absolutely no overlap there at all. I'm sure you're all totally loyal and devoted to the United States. I noticed that Donnie Reb had a bit of a slip up there. He said, as long as I'm part of the United States, there's no question as to where my national loyalty lies. So think about that for a second. As long as he's part of the United States, he'll remain loyal to it. But if the Confederacy rises again, if there's a boogaloo, then he'll totally join the Confederates, because fuck the United States, fuck you Americans, and fuck you Yankees. Also, Yankee just means American. Go to hell with that distinction. Yeah, he's not loyal to the United States. He pretty much just outed himself right here. This is getting a little too easy. We got, what, 15 more minutes of this shit? Jesus Christ.
But that does not mean I have to accept the lies and the propaganda that the Yankee Empire is spilling out upon my people and worldwide. They're even telling people in Europe a lie. It's a Yankee lie that my ancestors who never owned a slave were fighting to promote slavery. Now, that is ridiculous. I have looked up my genealogy, and I think I've got about 6 or 7 Confederate soldiers in my lineage, especially my great-grandfather, which is only, 2 generations removed from me. They were Confederate soldiers, but none of them owned slaves.
I believe it was Sam Watkins, who was with the Army of Tennessee on the Confederate side, who, when he received word that, if you owned a certain number of slaves, you wouldn't have to go off and fight, he described it as rich man's war, poor man's fight. Which shows me that he was actually fairly intelligent, which was a bit of a standout among Confederate troops, because a lot of them did believe the absolute con job that was being implemented on them. Some of them did believe that the federal government was oppressing them and that they were fighting for states' rights. Even though the South had spent the last few decades slowly eroding the northern states' ability to say, hey, you can't take your goddamn slaves up here. Don't do that. Even though the Southerners had forced themselves on Kansas and tried to ethnically cleanse the New Englanders living there so they could force slavery onto that territory. Totally in favor of states' rights, even though, as previously mentioned, they invaded Missouri and Kentucky to force them into the Confederacy. Yeah, totally fighting for states' rights. It's not like that was just a propaganda lie to get the working class of the South to drink the Kool-Aid and go off and fight and die for a lie. It's not like the South continues to reject that because they don't want to accept the absolute existential horror of realizing that their ancestors were part of what pretty much amounts to mass treason and mass human sacrifice, because a certain number of, as Thought Slime would put it, unfathomably rich ghouls didn't want to pay workers and didn't want to pick their own cotton. Yeah, totally. There's not a reason why, you'd be in denial about that, just at all. Hey, by that same logic, you could argue that, the Nazis weren't anti-Semitic because not every single German soldier killed a Jew. Just
Nothing but the best arguments from Southern revisionists. I wonder if Hans and Alpasan are finally going to show up again. Who knows?
So to think that those men would risk death, mutilation, and poverty just so some rich plantation owner could own slaves, that doesn't pass what we call the sniff test.
Exactly, Donnie. It's not like propaganda is a thing or anything, or conscription for that matter. It's not like the state has the ability to force thousands upon thousands of young men to go to war regardless of whether or not they believe it. Hey, Vietnam wasn't an attempt by the United States to increase its influence in Southeast Asia. Why would any American soldier fight for that? No. The war in Vietnam was so that every American could receive a happy, fun-time trip to Disney World. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, conscription, propaganda, state-generated lies, or even just people among the population believing in absolutely shitty and disgusting ideologies, that's totally not a thing. People only go to war for logical and good reasons. Yeah, and it's not like that, there were several regions in the Confederacy that completely saw through the Richmond government's bullshit. It's not like there were entire groups of Confederate conscripts who ran away and risked life and limb to wage guerrilla warfare against the Confederate government. That didn't happen. Yeah, and it's not like there were several Southerners who also thought that secession and fighting against the United States was stupid and unpatriotic, and also risked life and limb campaigning against, or even in several cases, joining the Union Army and fighting against secession. That didn't happen. That is unfortunate.
Well, one of the following happened for your relatives, Donnie. They could have been conscripted, forced into the war against their will. If they died, they probably died scared shitless, just wanting to go home and seeing their families again. They could have volunteered and just completely fallen for the Southern elite's bullshit, which I don't know if that makes their deaths more tragic, but it is tragic, in a way. Or they actually did believe in the superiority of the white man, and that African Americans did belong in chains, which, you know, it actually was common for lower-class Southern folks to believe, for the same reason that, you know, like, when you were in school, Donnie, you know that there were, like, really popular kids and then kids below that, and then kids below that. And what usually happens isn't that the kids at the lower ends of the totem pole don't usually team up and get rid of the kids on top. What usually happens is the kids in the middle bully the kids on the bottom because they're easy targets, and they, you know, it makes them feel better about themselves. And a lot of poor Southerners felt that way about black folks, which is why so many poor Southerners just acted like such racist pieces of shit towards black folks, even though they had a lot of the same interests, and why that continues to happen. So, your premise fails completely. Like, absolutely. This idea that people always act in their self-interests and always go to war for logical reasons, that's bullshit. Doesn't work. That's not how history works. That's not how war works. Try again.
That just don't smell right.
A poll by the Wall Street Journal last year, and it said that 51% of Americans would like to see Confederate statues removed from public property. You know, what do you think of that?
Well, it's interesting you cite that, because a Pew poll about 3 years ago that I know, it stated that 54% of Americans and 75% of Southerners said leave the Confederate monuments alone. So it depends on who's doing the polling. But
Really? I wonder what happened since that poll was taken 3 years ago that could have possibly caused so many Americans to wake the fuck up and turn against symbols of racism, treason, division, kinslaying, and paleoconservative degeneracy. Definitely nothing that showed, you know, problems with our system and that we probably shouldn't be honoring these people. No, nothing like that. Also, I'm in a political data analysis class right now, and math has never been my strong suit, but I've never failed this badly before. So he's given a set of data that is, you know, you could argue it's out of date. It's from a year ago. And he responds by giving data from 3 years ago and claims that's proof that the recent poll is rigged. No, data changes over time. Here's a quick handy-dandy skit to show off just how ridiculous this claim from Donnie is. Oh, wow. Time for another hockey season. I can't wait. Hey, Kansas City, Chiefs. Couldn't help but notice, as your cross-state neighbor in another sport, that you're looking a little rough right now. 2-3. You guys doing okay? Yeah, no, we're fine. Yeah, I mean, you say it's 2-3, but it's interesting because last year the NFL said we were 14-2. So you really gotta check and see where your sources are coming from, because like since that result makes us look bad, that could probably just be biased. You know what I mean? Because last year we were 14-2. Well, that was last year. Like, statistics change all the time. You can't just hold on to last year's results and pretend like everything's fine. Shut up, St. Louis. We're the football guys now. The greatest show on turf is dead. Everything's fine. Go Chiefs.
even with the poll you cite, that they still say 49% of, quote, America. Well, go down the South and see where this is. The South is where we have these monuments. So
I don't know, Donnie. I feel like Americans are allowed to have opinions on the policies of other states. Even if they don't live in those states, they're still part of the same country. As much as you hate it, you are still part of the United States, so, our opinion on you does matter.
Let's poll the people down south, and you'll find that even in the very strongly black areas of the South, there is a large percentage of Black Americans, African Americans, that leave it alone. It's part of history. And one thing that we do in the Sons of Confederate Veterans, I didn't mention this earlier, and I really want to stress is we are a very diverse organization. We have African American members. Their ancestors were either white, free, blacks, or slaves. They're all members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. We have Native Americans, Hispanic Americans. We even have Polynesian Americans that are members of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. So,
don't really know what point you're trying to make here. I mean, if someone's wrong, they're wrong. It doesn't really matter what skin color they are. Seems like you're making this appeal because you think that everybody who's opposed to you claims that, you know, people of color are just this universal hive mind that always agrees with us. No, I don't think that at all. I'm not claiming to speak for anybody but myself. Like, if someone of another ethnic group disagrees with me, or I think they're going against their own self-interests, I'll still disagree with them. Their skin color means absolutely nothing. Like, if you ask someone 2 + 2 and they say 5, the color of their skin doesn't make them any more or less incorrect. So that's another failed premise on your part.
When you say Yankees, you know, excuse my ignorance, but you know, for someone outside America, you know, we would maybe regard that as, you know, maybe not what we'd call American, but you know, do you mean anyone not from the South? Is that what you mean by Yankee?
Chris is correct. Yankee does mean American. The term first appeared in 1758 as a reference to colonial troops serving under British command. The British then later used it as a derogatory term against Americans who were fighting for independence. You know, the song Yankee Doodle comes to mind. And then Southerners just started using this term, which means American, as a derisive term. So that's pretty yikesy on their part. Let's see what Donnie has to say about this.
Anybody that has, now I'm going to tell you, but up front, I have 2 grandchildren from the state of Washington, but they're not Yankees, they're Northerners.
No. Listen, I'm going to be up front with you. I disagree with, what, we calling him Ushanka Chris now? Chris, original Chris. I disagree with him on his definition of Yankee. Donnie isn't even using the correct definition that Southern folks use. Yankee does mean Northerner. That's what it means. More specifically, the term referred to New England troops during the American Revolution, because, and this is a fact that Southerners don't really like to talk about, New England started fighting the British before anybody else. So that's why the term Yankee applied to all Americans who were fighting for independence. The New Englanders then settled much of the Midwest and then on to the Pacific Northwest. You know, fun fact, if you look around cities in Oregon and Washington, you can find plenty of towns that have the same names as cities out on the East Coast. Salem and Portland come to mind. So, yeah, Donnie, your kids are Yankees. Even among Southerners, Yankee means Northerner. It seems to me, and this just adds to my belief that you're using this term Yankee just to refer to Northerners that you don't like, which isn't what it means. It just means Northerner. And you aren't calling your own family members Yankees because, well, they're your family members. They can't possibly be those evil Yankee imperialists, which is why your definition of Yankee and your view of the United States is so goddamn stupid, because Yankees aren't this bizarre class of exploiters. What you're referring to is just capitalists. Capitalists and Yankees are not the same thing.
There's a difference. We feel like there's a big difference between someone from the North and a Yankee. A Yankee is someone who sits up on his stool, points his finger at you and say, you ought to do the things the way we say it needs to be done. Do you ever hear the term the ugly American?
Yeah, yeah.
That's an old term that used to be applied to Americans that go around the world saying, you all do this the way we do it back home.
I wonder what those dastardly Yankees were telling you to do differently back in the 1860s. What was the main issue between you two exactly? Also, you're just describing a woke scold. Again, that's not what a Yankee is. And also, considering what the North was trying to stop you from doing, they had the absolute right to judge you. You were absolutely in the wrong. I mean, there's only so much I can say. Are we even going to be able to finish this entire video? It feels like we're getting burnt out at this point.
That wasn't Southerners saying that. That was a bunch of damn Yankees. Because that's the attitude they've had from the inception of this country.
Yeah, those damn Yankees with their Indian Removal Act, Trail of Tears, Fugitive Slave Act, and Bleeding Kansas. Always forcing people around and telling folks what to do for their own profit. Wait, what's that? That was all Southerners? Those are like some of the worst crimes that this country has ever committed. And it continues after the Civil War? We haven't even discussed what happened in Mexico. Oh, yeah, Mexico. Let's not forget about that.
I wanted to ask you also about NASCAR because, that's a big, part of the Southern culture, the car racing. And they removed the Confederate flag in the wake of the George Floyd controversy. And I believe, I'm going to check with you, but your organization, did they pay for a plane to fly over saying defund NASCAR?
We do what we call flyovers, and we have a giant 24 by 42 Confederate battle flag, and we'll fly over NASCAR, and it'll say defund NASCAR.
Southern cancel culture, ladies and gentlemen. How dare you shit-talk us for losing a war 160 years ago? Private businesses can't make their own decisions. You hurt our feelings. Let's buy a giant fucking battle flag of a country that doesn't even exist anymore and fly it over an athletic event and force politics into sports. This isn't hypocritical at all, nor are we acting like a bunch of overgrown, spoiled children.
That was back when the defund police thing started.
I wonder what Donnie's opinion on the police are. I mean, the police are the armed instrument of the state, and he believes that the state is an evil Yankee empire. So I'm sure he's totally in favor of defunding the police, right?
And now we have a banner that just says scb.org to let people know who we are that's flying. And the people, they go crazy. They love it. Unfortunately, you have in these organizations people in the upper echelons of the organization, such as NASCAR, that are trying to curry favor with the political elite. And the political elite, Republican or Democrat in the United States, are anti-Confederate.
I mean, even more Scottish Chris did say earlier that 51% of the American public isn't in favor of Confederate symbols, and NASCAR, a private company that's driven entirely by profit and wants to expand its business, decided to get rid of Confederate symbols. Speaking from personal experience, I know Chris pretty well. One of the reasons he felt apprehensive about going to NASCAR events when he was a little kid is because, the Confederate flag was everywhere. And he learned about the Civil War when he was a little kid, and he figured that, these people didn't share his values, so why should he hang out with them? So now, about half of the country believes that too. That's a huge loss of profit for NASCAR. Of course they're going to try and curry favor with the majority. That's how capitalism is supposed to work. That's what it's supposed to do. And these are the people who are constantly sucking up to capitalism. Like, does he even know what he's complaining about? Like, this is exactly how this system is supposed to work. NASCAR wants to bring in more customers. The Confederate flag is an issue that a lot of people are aware of now. And so they don't want their fans flying it because they don't want to be associated with all these far-right extremists that are flying it all the time at, like the Capitol riot, Dylan Roof, using it as a symbol. They don't want to be associated with that shit. They just want to make money. Let the faceless capitalist mega corporation make its money and be politically consistent, damn it!
So, but as you said, NASCAR got started in the South. Its roots are in the South, and that's why we had the Confederate flag so often at NASCAR. And no problem until they came along and made it a problem. So,
how dare the political climate change and force so many people to adapt to their new surroundings? That's not nice. This didn't just happen naturally. It must all be part of some conspiracy to slander the Confederate flag. I've based my entire life on worshiping a country that fell 160 years ago. I must preserve my heritage, for it's all I have. Jesus Christ, dude. Get another hobby, man. Try playing No Man's Sky. Or Hearts of Iron, or go out for a walk. Maybe try tabletop role-playing. How about D&D or Call of Cthulhu? Something other than this Confederate shit. You people are way too attached to this. And honestly, this is going to be my last video on you guys for a while because, I don't know, I'm just getting tired of hearing the same arguments from you folks over and over again.
Oh, and that seems to be the record.
From what I'm gathering, it's more of a culture argument you're making, that, you feel like the South has been portrayed a certain way, your symbols, your culture is being is being denigrated, and you're being portrayed as racist and backwards, so you're wanting to change that narrative.
Well, and interesting you said that. Part of our slogan is to take back the narrative. We feel like the narrative has been taken away from us. The truth about the South, why that war was fought, and why our Confederate ancestors were noble heroes and patriots.
For someone who's had the narrative taken away from him, you really seem to talk a lot. Like, you don't seem to have a problem being heard. You're quite obnoxious, actually. The problem isn't that you've had the narrative taken away. The problem is that people don't believe you anymore. That's the problem. This victim complex, I swear to Christ, man. I mean, maybe people think you're racist because you're doing apologetics for the Ku Klux Klan and the Confederate States of America that, had a provision in its constitution that said that you couldn't end slavery, where pretty much every state in its articles of secession mentioned the maintenance of slavery. I mean, like, you guys like to compare this to the American Revolution and say, well, how can you dislike the Confederacy if you also pay homage to, like, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson? Well, I'll tell you how. First of all, we don't blindly worship them like you people worship the traitors that you keep in your town squares. We look up to them and use them as examples because they actually created something new, that being a representative democracy, the likes of which hadn't existed since the fall of the Roman Republic. They actually contributed something to society. Despite their massive flaws, they did create something good. You guys revolted against that and didn't even replace it with anything new. Your goddamn system was just a copy and paste of the U.S. Constitution with a provision that said that you couldn't end slavery. We honor the Founding Fathers because they changed the world. You guys tried to stop that change, and your banner continues to be used to try to stop that change. And frankly, after America has fallen so far behind the rest of the world, most of the country is getting kind of pissed off and tired of your bullshit. So maybe fall in line, huh? Maybe help us build a better nation for once. Here's a fun thought experiment that I like to do from time to time. Let me preface this by saying this is in no way an endorsement of the bullshit revision that the SOCV does about the relevance of slavery. Let's take slavery completely out of the equation when it comes to secession. This is an alternate timeline where, I don't know, Constantinople never fell or something. I don't fucking know. But slavery as we know it doesn't exist in the United States. But a civil war is about to start because Lincoln wants the South to pay more taxes. And the South secedes. I got news for you. They would still be in the wrong. Do you want to know why? Have you ever heard of a country called Gran Colombia? I wouldn't be surprised if you never have. It's not very well taught in American schools. Gran Colombia was a kind of like a United States in the northern regions of South America. It consisted of modern-day Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, and Ecuador. And it was built from scratch by the revolutionary general Simón Bolívar. And it had the potential to be a world power, on par with the United States. I want to see someone come up with an alternate timeline where, like, the U.S. and Gran Colombia are, like, close allies and fight alongside each other all the time. That'd be really cool. But anyway, Gran Colombia had the resources to defend itself from foreign imperialism, be it Spanish revanchism or American encroachment. But division started up, and Gran Colombia collapsed into bickering nation-states that were much easier for the United States to exploit. Now let's try that in the United States. Because it's not just the South that's going to secede if they're allowed to leave. What happens if somebody that the Pacific states don't like is elected president? I mean, if they can just leave, then they're going to leave. What happens if somebody that New England doesn't like is elected president? They can leave too. Suddenly, the United States is a lot less powerful and isn't able to exert itself on the world stage. That means no American intervention in World War I, no American assistance in World War II. The entire course of modern human history is completely changed, and I highly doubt it's changed for the better. It's very possible that liberal democracy as we know it simply wouldn't exist. The United States, or the territory that once was the United States, would be a lot weaker, would be a lot less economically prosperous, there'd be a crap ton more corruption, and probably foreign intervention on our soils. Something similar to what we did in South America, because those folks couldn't properly defend themselves. Even with slavery taken completely out of the equation, the actions of the American South were still short-sighted, selfish, treasonous, and detrimental to the world as a whole. Even in that timeline, you're in the wrong, you deserve to lose. That's all I gotta say about that. Down with the traitors, up with the stars.
Not traitors and slave beaters. That narrative has been taken away, and now we're only hearing what, and I keep referring back to the Yankee view of.
Finally! Hans! Alpasan, you're up!
The winner, as you know, any winner of a war, the one who is victorious, he writes and enforces the history.
Very true indeed, Donnie. Anytime a nation loses a war, they always go along with the victor's narrative. After all, it's not like after the First World War, Germans did not believe for a moment the Allied account of why the war happened, nor did they accept our outlandish claims about why it happened either. Nein, they just blindly accepted the British and French explanation and moved on with their lives. Historical revisionism isn't a thing at all. Well done, Donnie.
Think about England. How would England report the Battle of London during World War II, or Winston Churchill, or the King and Queen, if Adolf Hitler and the Nazis had won that war and ruled Great Britain right now?
Ah yes, Donnie, another brilliantly astute observation. The United States is just like Hitler when it comes to telling the story of warfare. Yeah, it's not like Hitler was a well-known tyrant or liar or anything, nor is it like all leaders are just like him. Very good, Donnie. Everybody who ever wins a war is going to do exactly what Hitler did.
You see, that's what has happened to the South.
Oh, lovely! The South has been completely cleansed of the Untermensch and is now a colony for the pure Aryans of the German Reich. That is what has happened to the South. That is so wonderful to hear. You guys were so far along when the war started. We actually modeled our policies of eugenics after the Southern United States policies of Jim Crow. I am so proud of you little guys.
Our point of view is being excluded.
I know, Donnie, it is so infuriating. Even though what I say about the Armenian genocide is prominently accepted by scholars in my region, outsiders still believe that it happened. Yes, it is absolutely infuriating when outsiders don't believe your bullshit, isn't it? I guess you better impose your views on them. It's not like that would put you on par with the Yankee imperialists that you're always complaining about. No, no, no.
There's no law that says you must exclude the Southern view, but everyone in power and money and prestige, they will not allow our point of view to be exposed.
Was ist los? You're telling me that the United States allows historical revisionism about war crimes and racism to run rampant amongst its population? In Germany, our diabolical government doesn't allow us to tell the truth about the Second World War. America truly is a paradise for up-and-coming fascists.
Very limited exposure. We call it censorship by exclusion. For example, when we send out press releases about something that's going on that has offended us, our view is excluded. If it is used as one or two sentences is used and then a couple of paragraphs are used to describe why we are incorrect in that view.
Oh yes, Donnie, that is totally censorship. That is certainly not, as we mentioned before, private businesses just choosing not to publish your stuff. Fun fact, Hans cannot get anything published, and the Federal German Republic is actively trying to arrest him. On the one hand, for being a war criminal, and on the other hand, he appears to be immortal and they wish to study him. Yes, companies choosing not to publish your stuff is definitely the same as state-sponsored censorship. What a victim you are.
Oh, America sounds like the land of my dreams. I can say insensitive and inflammatory shit and motivate people to commit violence and cause division, and no one will stop me. Oh, Alpasan, I think I have to go and visit America. I'm going to do it right now. Cue the music.
Hallo? Bundeskriminalamt?
Ja, ich habe etwas für dich. Ich habe den Aufenthaltsort eines Nazi. Ja, eines Nazi. Er rennt nach Amerika. Du musst eben aufhalten. Das Land ist schon am Rande. Das Letzte, was wir brauchen, ist ein faschistischer Gremlin, der herumläuft. Sehr gut. Danke, mein Herr. Glückwunsch an die Sozialdemokraten. Grüße Anna. Auf Wiedersehen.
So what we're sort of coming to the conclusion here is that you feel the South is underrepresented. You don't have anyone sort of, excuse the term, holding your flag.
But you're right. We are what is known as a stateless people.
No. No. Niet. Nein. La. A million times no. First of all, the term you're looking for is stateless nation, not stateless people. Stateless people are refugees. Like the refugees that you guys greet with Confederate flags and threats all the goddamn time. No, in order to be a stateless nation, you have to be your own ethnicity. You're the same hodgepodge of European mutts as the rest of white America. You have to have your own language. You have a fairly distinct accent, but I do too. I can still understand what you're saying. You have to have your own completely separate customs. Last I checked, you all like football and celebrate the same holidays as the rest of us. No. You are not a stateless nation. And the fact that you're making that argument further tells me that you think that the United States is an oppressive society. Why don't you just come out and say that you think that? Be like the League of the South. Be open with how idiotic your ideas are.
If you're familiar with the Armenians in
Oh, no. Oh, God, please, no. Come on, Donnie. Not even you are dumb enough to make this comparison. Don't make me play the music!
Turkey, they were a stateless people, and you see what happened to stateless people.
Oh, he said it! He's doing the white genocide bullshit! Oh my God! Oh!
The Jews in Nazi Germany, they were a stateless people.
He's still going! Great Gretzky's ghost! He's gone full Godwin! Oh my God!
They did not have a state to protect them and their heritage, and you see what happened to them.
I am so fucking blown away, I have nothing to say. I think I'm gonna wait until the music stops, and then I'm gonna go full Sherman on his argument.
Today in the South, in what used to be the Confederate States of America, we have no government that will represent our interests and defend our history and our heritage.
He's this fucking close to saying the 14 words. My God. My favorite words! We must secure the existence of our people and a future for what? Shut up! MAGA Chris, shut up! I've studied neo-Nazism. I know what the 14 words are. Holy fucking shit. How are we even going to approach this, guys?
We are American. Now, my family, we're all proud to be part of the United States.
You just compared yourself to Armenians living in the Ottoman Empire under the Young Turks and Jews living in Nazi Germany. Do you really expect anyone to take you seriously when you say that you love this country? We all heard what the fuck you just said. You basically came this close to saying a well-known white nationalist slogan. You're a fucking traitor. Be honest. You hate Yankees, which means you hate Americans, you love the Confederacy, and you hate the United States. You think that the government is out to get you, and this victim mentality, they're so fucking loud and so fucking weak. Chris, take a breather. I got this. So, Donnie, the Armenians and the Jews are distinct groups of people who have existed for thousands of years. Southerner is a regional identity backed up by 4 years of a civil war. Your culture, as you put it, your people who are just a subset of Americans are a blip on the radar compared to the Jews and the Armenians. continue this comparison, shall we? Throughout their time in Europe, the Jews have been the targets of random pogroms, where people just go into their neighborhoods and smash shit up and kill them. Has that happened to you? No. Oh, actually, you've done that exact same thing to African Americans all the fucking time. You're honoring the KKK, who specifically did that. So you might as well compare yourselves to, Jews in the Holocaust and then talk praise about Hitler's stormtroopers. Also, the Armenians experienced similar things. They were the targets of random acts of ethnic cleansing that built up into the Armenian genocide. Both groups were targeted by the state. And do you know what the fuck the state said when they were targeting them? They said exactly what you were saying about the Yankees. That they were forcing themselves into their communities and trying to force change. That's what they fucking said about those people. I can't fucking believe how ignorant you are. Holy goddamn God. Also, you have representation. You have senators. You have congressmen. You have the right to vote. Do you know what rights these people had in the societies that they lived in? At the best of times, the Armenians were taxed more because they were Christian and weren't allowed to leave their neighborhoods. Similar thing happened with Jews. Has that ever, pray tell, ever happened to you people? No, it hasn't. You have not experienced the utter hell of authoritarian, targeted ethnic cleansing. But you know fucking what? We have seen shadows of that shit coming from you people. So don't you ever dare compare what you have been through to the absolute horrors that those people have been through. Were you ever rounded up, marched into the desert, and forced to stand around in a camp until you died of thirst? Were you ever thrown into a gas chamber with your goddamn baby and had the life choked out of you? No, that's never happened to you? You've never been the targets of oppression or state-sponsored violence outside of when you were literally in armed revolt? Sit down. Shut the fuck up. This is quite possibly the most disgusting thing I have ever heard from someone like you. I could go on all day about this. But I'm not going to. Jesus fucking Christ. And speaking as someone who the Nazis would have actually gone after for, being a syndicalist, fuck you for trying to lump yourself in with us. I'm a devout anti-authoritarian, and I have Jewish ancestry. My family has roots in Charleston. There was a decent-sized Jewish community there. I'm part Jewish. The Nazis would have killed me for that. Fuck you for trying to lump yourself in with me. I'm not a neurotypical. I'm on the autism spectrum. And who do you think the Nazis tested the execution by gas on? The T4 program. They did it on people like me. Aside from political opponents, the neurodivergent were some of the first victims of the Nazis. And you are comparing yourself to people who died in, and even the ones who lived through some of the worst crimes in human history, because people are asking you to take down statues and looking down on you for flying a flag. Weakness. Fucking weakness.
served in the military. The South has bent over backwards to prove to the North that we want to be loyal citizens.
No, you haven't. You are the only people in the country who staged a mass revolt against the Union. In the entire history of our country, you are the one enemy that came the closest to defeating us. And I'm not referring to like losing a war against you. We lost to the Vietnamese. We've lost wars before. We've rebounded from that. What you did, what you tried to get away with, what you are honoring, very nearly destroyed the nation. I don't believe you. The South has not proven its loyalty. I should clarify. When I say the South in this context, I'm referring to people like you, Donnie. There are, I'd say like the vast majority of Southerners are probably in a position where they just kind of go along with honoring Confederates. They haven't really thought about it much. You know, people are busy. They don't have time to do introspection a lot of the time. Doesn't make them stupid. Doesn't make them bad people. Just means that they haven't had time to think about it. But you, it's consumed you. To the point that you think you're a potential target of genocide. I'm still blown away by that. I could be making jokes right. Well, I can't make jokes right now because I'm still recovering from that sucker punch.
All we've ever asked was that our heritage be respected just like their heritage is.
You seem to use that heritage argument anytime literally anybody argues for any form of change. You used it during Reconstruction. You used it during the Civil Rights Movement. You're using it now during Black Lives Matter. This isn't to do with heritage. The Confederacy lasted for 4 years. I don't understand. The only motive I can think of for you people to still be obsessed over the Confederacy is a malevolent one. Which is why I'm very suspicious of you.
Being respected.
I think some people might be shocked to hear you, or maybe you can clarify, compare the people in the South to the Jewish people under the Nazi regime.
No fucking shit.
Do you feel a synergy there?
In the sense that we are stateless.
No, you're not stateless. We already went over this.
Do not. Now, we are not suffering anything like the potential is there.
If you have never gone through something like the Holocaust and the Armenian genocide, if your people have never been targeted like that, don't compare yourself to it. It's really that goddamn simple. Also, no, the potential isn't there. You have rights under the Constitution. You are not being targeted by the state. Also, need I remind you that you motherfuckers are armed to the goddamn teeth? Do you really think that the state is about to come after you?
Yes, anytime you're dealing with big government, potential is there. But
big government bad, big government lead to genocide, derp, 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 derp. Listen, I wouldn't have resorted to that, but he fucking compared life in the American South to the goddamn Armenian genocide and the Holocaust. You try staying civil after hearing that.
What I'm saying is that they did not have a state. Once the Nazis took control of Germany, they did not have a state to protect their interests, their rights, their liberties, their property.
So who are the Nazis in this scenario? Like, who do you think is going to take over the country and come after you people? It's other Americans, isn't it? It's the people up north who aren't your 2 grandkids. That's who you're afraid of. The, scary college students, the, everyday liberals, the Americans who know what the fuck the Confederacy stood for and are tired of seeing you disgrace our nation by honoring traitors. That's who you're scared of. You're scared of every other American. I still can't fucking believe this. Hey, Chris, you doing okay? How can democracy survive if a significant amount of the population is this badly educated? I mean, like, even if it's just a small minority that can still do a shit ton of damage. I mean, Vlad, you lived through the same year that I just did. You saw what ignorance and denial of reality can do. It gets people killed. How the hell are we going to counter this? Lenin had the solution. You need a vanguard to educate the proletariat. Hey, what are you 2 talking about? Nothing. Look, Donnie is shitting his pants over Yankees again.
We Southerners do not either. We have to depend on the Yankees to be gracious to us. But
wait, doesn't your Constitution grant you the rights to freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, the right to a trial and jury of your peers? Don't you have certain rights that you have even when you get arrested? Like, when you get arrested, don't you have well, I've seen so many cop shows, it's like, the right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used in a court against you, you have a right to an attorney, if you cannot afford an attorney, the state will provide one. Like, you have rights. The state is not about to come after you. You're living in a paranoid delusion, and this is coming from a Leninist. You're being paranoid, Donnie. I mean, we once purged everyone in our army above the rank of colonel. I know paranoia when I see it.
It's graciousness at their volition, not our volition.
And how do you see the future? What would you like to happen that is, I guess there's hypotheticals, but there's also, what is realistic? What change would you like to see?
What I would really like to see, number one, I like to see Southerners united together in defending our heritage and pointing back this nation to the roots. What Europeans do not realize, and unfortunately too many Americans do not realize, the United States you see today is not the United States of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and the founding fathers.
Yeah, no shit. Black people aren't property anymore. Women are allowed to vote. We don't use muskets anymore. We have these things called cars and highways. Our government isn't this, what was basically a proto version of the EU, where like the government had to rely on the states to cooperate. We got this handy dandy thing called the U.S. Constitution that established the supremacy of the federal government while also balancing out the rules of the state. We don't exclude Chinese people from coming in here anymore. We have this nifty new thing called baseball. We got, oh man, there's all sorts of new sports now. We got hockey, we got football, we got basketball. We even got soccer. That's finally starting to catch on in the United States. Yeah, no shit, Donnie. A lot of stuff has changed in the United States. It's not the United States that existed back then. You know why? Because our Constitution and our society was made to change so that we could adapt. That was the objective. We achieved it. Trying to go back to the early days of the revolution is inherently counter-revolutionary and counterproductive.
That nation was destroyed in the so-called Civil War.
Yes, the reactionary element of the country, realizing that they could no longer control the electoral policies through a bitch fit, tried to destroy the country in the form of a civil war that would have completely destroyed our union had the rebels won. But fortunately, the traitors were brought to their knees by the extreme might of the American people.
We have a totally different, great General Robert E. Lee, after the war, speaking to Lord Acton. Are you familiar with Lord Acton? The British political philosopher. All right. In a letter to Lord Acton was bemoaning the fact that the South had lost the war. And he
sounds like a Tory bastard, the type of person that Lee would talk to. Fortunately, in my timeline, Tories are a thing of the past.
Asked General Lee General Robert E. Lee, what's going to happen to America now that the South has been defeated? And General Lee said America would become, with the defeat of the South and the loss of our, what we call states' rights, the ability to keep the federal government under control, America would become aggressive abroad and despotic at home. You see, what I've been talking about here is the reflection of what Robert E. Lee predicted, an aggressive abroad federal government. There's nowhere in the world that some politician in Washington, D.C. cannot be improved by a U.S. bomber or missile strike.
Aw, look at that. He's trying to do populist talking points. Donnie, are you familiar with the Indian Removal Act, the Trail of Tears? The aftermath of the Texas Revolution, when the white Southerners forced the Tejanos off their land, even though the Tejanos had supported the Texan Revolution. Are you familiar with the Mexican-American War, where the South led the United States into a war with Mexico and seized half of Mexico's land? Are you familiar with the Knights of the Golden Circle, a precursor of the Ku Klux Klan, which was an ultra-nationalist Southern movement that sought to expand the Confederacy to the Pacific? It wanted to conquer Mexico, Cuba, the entire Caribbean, and enslave the populace. You can look this up. This was a thing. Were those people Yankees? No. They were your people. I challenge you to point to any idiotic war in recent American history that wasn't devoutly supported by the American South. Vietnam, the Second Gulf War, pretty much any intervention has been thoroughly resisted by several groups of people in the North. What do you people always call us when that happens? You call us traitors. You claim that we don't love the country. And, ever since 9/11, you've been saying that we're on the side of the terrorists for not wanting to, for criticizing the war on terror. It's cute that you're trying to do a populism, but you fail miserably. American imperialism has been driven by the South. Not saying that the North is completely blameless in this, but you guys have played a major fucking role in that. This isn't just on the North.
We go everywhere in the world sticking our Yankee nose into other people's business. That's the aggressive abroad attitude that General Lee was talking about. In the despotic at home is the total destruction of our rights as citizens of the United States to have our culture, our history, and our rights protected.
Yankees bad, army bad, government coming to take my statues, me just like Armenians, That's essentially what his argument has devolved to. Oh my god, we still got 5 minutes of this bullshit. Is anyone still watching? If you're still watching, mark this time code in the comments. Populist Chris thanks you.
Oh, General Lee was correct, and we're living in that time. But what I want to see is for all of the United States to return back to that nation that is not aggressive abroad and despotic at home. We'll stay home, mind our own business, and honor each other and each other's rights.
Completely withdraw from foreign policy, abandon all of our allies, and pursue a nostalgic, bullshit view of our past while China and the Russian Federation take over the goddamn planet. Russia Today approves this message.
That's what I really would like to see.
And to come full circle, I know there's been a lot said about statues. You must be sick talking about them. But in terms of, so bringing down statues is not an issue. You feel if the people want it, you're happy for the statues to come down.
Not necessarily come down in the sense of destroyed, but if let's say in Little Rock, Arkansas, if there's a community that does not want that statue, they don't have the right to pull it down and destroy it. What they need to do is say, we want to find somebody that wants this statue and we'll help move it.
No. Fuck you. If the people of Little Rock want to turn their Confederate monument into a public bathroom, that's their right. It's their community. It's their statue. You revisionists gave it to them. If they end up destroying it, then maybe you shouldn't have given them a goddamn statue. Maybe you shouldn't have put these up in the public square, you know? Maybe you should have kept these in, like, graveyards or whatever. Short-sightedness, my God.
That's not a problem. The problem is they don't want it at all. They want it totally destroyed. Every vestige of the South is to be destroyed.
You know, call me an ignorant Yankee, but I think the South is a lot more than just statues of century-old traitors. I've been to Little Rock. It's a beautiful town. Highly recommend it. The country around it is great. There's a lot of historical stuff there. If you're ever in town, I very much recommend going to a Arkansas Travelers game. The South is so much more than just statues. I'm genuinely fascinated by how you think that the destruction of statues of Confederate leaders that were put up during the nadir of race relations as a warning to African Americans to not step out of line and challenge Jim Crow, that you think that's the South. Now, I may shit on the South all the time. I mean, I'm from Kansas. It's what we do. But there's a lot of good stuff down there. And I think they'd be better off if they just left their toxic past behind and moved forward. What was that Ushanka doing on my head, guys? Also, I feel like I blacked out. Did I black out? Oh, good. He took off the Ushanka. He's not going through tanky remission anymore. I think it's about time we wrapped up this video. Whatever your plans were, Vladimir, it looks like they failed. Sucks to suck.
Did I really fail? I think not. You see, gentlemen, while you were busy debunking Southern revisionists, and while MAGA Chris was palling around with Hans and Alpasan, I was able to acquire something.
What are you talking about, Vlad?
Recognize this?
It can't be. Chris's high school journal. I don't understand. What's the big deal?
No, you don't get it. That's the journal he was writing in the night that Vlad was kicked out of his head. The night that I showed up. The night that I had to start rebuilding everything. What are you gonna do with that, Vlad? I am only doing what Chris has wanted done for the last 5 years. I am taking him home.
Shit.
Dvatsov dva.
No.
Shishnya siash.
Stop it. Stop.
What the hell is he doing? The son of a bitch is using trigger words. You saw earlier when Chris gets stressed out, he resorts to his tanky principles. He's trying to... He's bringing up trauma. Deep shit. Stuff you weren't there for. Stuff I was barely there for. It's bad news, alright? We gotta stop him.
Oh, wow. Alright, what exactly is the threat level here?
Hello in Vichirinka.
Please,
Tantsuyoshoya Abaziana.
He's taking me back before.
Sexual object.
No, don't let him. It's too much. I need to go back.
Chris! Chris, can you hear me? Wake up! It's too late. He's gone. The son of a bitch did it. Tovarish? Ты меня слышишь? Да, товарищ Танкович.
Chris?
Не говори со мной, синдикалист.
No. He's a tanky again. We lost him.
Yes, you did. For the first time in 5 years, I am in charge. And there are going to be some changes around here. Товарищ, приступим к политическому обучению. Чем раньше меня, тем скорее снова улучшает печное питье. Да, товарищ, очень хороший.
Chris, no, don't go back there. You've come so far. Don't do this.
До свидания. Goodbye.
No!
Cindy, calm down.
Calm down. Calm down. Our friend just got sucked in through some brainwashing tactics, some fucking Hail Hydra shit by Vlad over there. And you're telling me to calm down? Do you know what tankies do to syndicalists? I'm probably gonna be the first one to get purged. Why are you so calm?
Listen to me. You haven't been in the insane place that is Chris's mind for as long as I have. Let me tell you something. There are more ideologies and more people in here than you can shake a stick at. Back in 2019, a bunch of them, including me, got together and de-radicalized Chris from the right. Maybe we can come together and help snap him out of his nostalgia-induced haze. I know what Vlad just did to him. We can talk about it later. Right now, we need to assemble half of the 6 arrows.
The 6 arrows?
You mean of Kemalism? Yeah. I'm obviously populism. Now, I think 2 of the others are in right now, and we can call them in, and they can assist us in getting Chris out of this mess. Now, hold on. I need to summon them with one of the best Ataturk quotes I can think of. Hayataki Gerchik Akil Hokomiz Bilindir. Bonjour, Samuel. How can I help you? Who set off the signal? I assume it is something important. Jacques, Thomas, it's good to see you. I'd like to introduce you to David Schneider, better known as Syndicalist Chris, but everybody calls him Cindy.
Hello?
Ah, yes. Very good to meet you, David. I assume that this isn't a social call, Samuel. It isn't. We got ourselves a Code Krasnia. I mean Red. Code Red. Chris has been lured back in by Vladimir Tankovich. I need your guys' help to snap him out of it. Oh, merde. This is very bad. You do know what we will have to do to snap him out of it, no? I know, Jacques. We're gonna have to make him relive that one night. Stress got him into it, reminding him of how terrible the situation was and how bad he had it back when Vlad was in charge seems to be the only way to get him out of it. What you are suggesting is subjecting him to another in-depth flashback of the worst night of his life. You are literally advocating sending him back into hell. I know, Jacques, but damn it, he's already in hell. And our job as the 6 arrows is to make sure that we alleviate his suffering, no? Jacques, with all due respect, I believe that I am with Samuel in this one. Oh, and why is that? Samuel is correct. Chris is already in hell. There is no changing that. And if I may, I believe there is a quote from a certain decent Tory that actually applies quite a bit here. If you're going through hell, keep going.